Hello, and welcome back to Introducing Persistence. In this lesson, we're going to do a little more housekeeping in our project and then start doing some coding using the test-first methodology. Now, in the Total Beginners tutorial, we used version 3 of the JUnit test framework for our testing. In this tutorial, we're going to update our testing to the newer JUnit 4 framework. Fortunately, this is pretty easy to do in Eclipse. Coding tests in JUnit 4 require somewhat different syntax than in 3. Fortunately, it is backward compatible, meaning that we don't have to rewrite all of our JUnit 3 test code running under JUnit 4. We can just use the new JUnit 4 code for the new tests. However, one place where we do need to change some existing code is in the All Tests class. This class was created for us by an Eclipse wizard in the Total Beginner tutorial. At present, Eclipse doesn't automatically create JUnit 4 test suites that can run all of our tests at one time. Fortunately, this is really easy to do, and that's where we're going to start. The first thing we'll do is open our test folder and open the All Tests class for editing. We can just do that by double-clicking on it. Now, just to be safe, we're going to start by running this as a JUnit test, just to make sure everything's good when we start. And as expected, we get our green bar indicating that all these tests succeeded. Next, we're going to rewrite this according to the new JUnit 4 syntax. The companion document lists some references that contain more detailed JUnit information if you want to read more about this. Now, the first thing we need to do is to change the import statements as follows. First, we press the plus to expand the import statements so we can see both of them. Then the first import is org.junit.runner.*, and the second one is almost the same. It's org.junit.runners*, and then we'll save. Eclipse now recognizes that we have some problems. We have these errors here and the underline here indicating we've got compiler errors. The first problem is that we don't have these Java packages anywhere in our project's build path, so Eclipse can't do the import statements. Those of you who did the Total Beginners tutorial probably know what's coming next, the all-purpose Eclipse Quick Fix, or Control 1. So if we click on here, press Control 1, the first option here is to add JUnit 4 to the build path, which is exactly what we want to do. So we'll double click there, and now those first two errors go away. If we go over to the Package Explorer and look now, we have JUnit 4 on the build path instead of JUnit 3. Eclipse just replaced JUnit 3 with JUnit 4. Next, notice that we still have compile errors inside the class. This is because the syntax of JUnit 4 is different for test suites. So we're just going to rewrite the whole method as follows. First, I'm going to double click here, basically delete everything. Now this code is different from what we've seen before, so don't worry about it. We're going to start at run with, and then inside parentheses suite.class, and then at suite.suiteClasses. Then inside there we're going to go value equals, and then inside the parentheses we do curly braces, and inside the curly braces we list our test classes that we want to run. So personTest.class, comma, bookTest.class, comma, and myLibraryTest.class. And that's inside the curly braces. And then at the end we just put an empty class, which is this class, public class, all tests, and then we got open and close curly braces. And we save. Now if you like, you can read more about this syntax in the referenced article. But basically, we just need to know how to create a test suite, and we can just use this as the pattern. The two important things to note are, first, that the test classes are listed in here, separated by commas. They're basically an array of classes that gets passed to this suite. And then secondly, the class name for the test suite, all tests in this case, is listed down here where we declare just an empty class. You will also notice the use of Java annotations, which is the @runWith and the @suite, these things with the @ sign. The ability to use annotations was a new feature added to Java version 1.5. And in JUnit 4 we use annotations to tell the test runner how to run our tests. Annotations allow us to store extra information about our programs right in the Java source code, and the annotation syntax is checked by the compiler. For more information about Java annotations, see the companion document. Now, let's try to run the all tests. So we'll double click here. We'll go run as JUnit test, and we get this message, no tests found with test runner JUnit 3. Eclipse is trying to run this test suite using the JUnit 3 test runner. And that's because we had already run this test using JUnit 3, and Eclipse still thinks that's a program to use to run this class. We can fix this by pressing OK there and opening the run dialog. So we go run, open, run dialog. And here we have what is called the launch configuration dialog. When we run Java programs inside Eclipse, it creates a launch configuration for each class we run. Now so far we haven't needed to worry about this. It's just been done automatically for us in the background. In this case, however, we need to tell Eclipse that we now want to use JUnit 4 to run the all tests class. And we do that by just going down here where it says test runner and changing JUnit 3 to JUnit 4. So now we'll hit apply, and if we hit run, now everything runs correctly because we're using the right version of JUnit to run the test suite. Okay, now that we're set up with JUnit 4, we can start writing our new test methods. First, let's discuss our overall plan for being able to save our objects in XML files. Since XML files are text files, we can break this down logically into two separate steps. Our first step will be to add methods to save and get text files from disk. Once we have these working, we can add methods to convert our objects to and from XML strings. When we put both of these together, we will be able to save our objects by converting them to XML and then saving them as a text file. In this slide, for example, we'll use a method called convert to XML that'll take an object, convert it to a string. We'll pass that to the method save string to file, and then that will put the XML string in the text file. Similarly, we can take a text file and read the XML string from that file using getStringFromFile, and then we pass that to a method called convertFromXML, and then that will return our object. If we think about it, these methods are generic and don't specifically relate to my library or any other type of object. So we're going to write them as static methods, and we're going to create a utility or helper class to hold these static methods. That will make it very easy to use these same methods in other projects. As you may recall, static methods are methods that are owned by the class, not by an instance of the class. Static methods are pretty much like functions in procedural programming languages. So we'll start with saving and getting text files. We're going to use the same test-first approach we used in the Total Beginners tutorial. That means that we'll write the test methods first and then write the actual methods under test after that. So let's start coding. We'll create a new test class called MyUtilitiesTest as a new JUnit test case. We're going to be careful to put this in the test folder, and we'll call it My Utilities Test. And for the class under test, remember, we're going to leave this blank because this class doesn't exist yet, and we're going to use Quick Fix to create the class as we go along. Also note that it's a new JUnit 4 test at the top, not a JUnit 3 test. So now we'll press Finish, and our empty test class is created for us. Next, we'll create the test method for the save string to file method. We're going to test both the save and get methods in one test method, since the best way to test them is to save a file and then get a file and make sure they match. So here's the code. First we'll double click here to give ourselves more room. Then we're going to import the packages we need for the JUnit 4. Now the first import is org.junit.asterisk, and the second import is import static org.junit.assert.asterisk. Now recall that import statements are just a convenience that allow us to type short class names, for example ArrayList, instead of long class names like java.util.ArrayList. Now we can also use this same trick to save typing on static methods. The import static in this case means that we can use static methods in the org.junit.assert class without typing the whole name. So we can type, for example, assert equals, and the compiler will know that we mean org.junit.assert equals. Next we'll type in our first method. We start with an annotation @test, and then we type the method header, which in this case is public void save string to file. Now notice that because we're using the annotation @test, we can name the method anything we want, and the convention in JUnit 4 is to name the test method the same as the method being tested, in this case save string to file. We're going to end Lesson 2 here. Be sure to save the MyUtilities test file. In the next lesson, we'll finish writing this test method and then start on the actual save string to file method. This is the end of Lesson 2. I'm Mark Dexter saying so long for now.